Hi everyone, this is Eagle News. I am EJayGonzales in Washington. It's Saturday, December 17, 2022 here in the nation's capital. The week's recap begins with America's battle with obesity. U.S. health authorities have released new body mass index charts, and these charts reveal just how serious childhood obesity has become in America. Ralph Cornell has the details.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention releases new charts with higher body mass index. The expansion is due to a steady increase of children in the U.S. who are considered as obese and severely obese. Body mass index, or BMI, is a mathematical formula that measures body fat. The BMI is calculated by dividing a person's height by the person's weight. The previous BMI charts for children do not go beyond a BMI of 37. The new charts expanded to include children with a BMI as high as 60. In 2018, the CDC reported more than 4.5 million children and adolescents in the U.S. had severe obesity. Health authorities say these updates will further help healthcare workers and families treat children suffering from obesity.
Ralph Cornell, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, cholera is spreading in Haiti, and the ongoing humanitarian crisis there is not helping. Janesh Agagas has the report.
After more than 3 years with no reported cases of cholera, there is now a resurgence of the disease in Haiti. The World Health Organization warns it is evolving rapidly and spreading to all parts of the country. 2 out of every 100 suspected cholera cases in Haiti end in death. This is only for the period between October 2nd to December 6th this year. This finding is based on a recent case report by the Haiti Ministry of Public Health and Population. Close to 90% of all reported cases ended in hospitalization. And the most affected age groups are children aged 1 to 4 years, which make up 20% of reported cases. The report says there are a total of 2,000 confirmed cases in Haiti. Aside from this outbreak, WHO says currently there is a humanitarian crisis in Haiti that is rapidly deteriorating. This is due to gang violence, socio-political conflicts, insecurity, fuel shortages, and economic instability. Because of this, WHO says there is a limited access to healthcare and essential services. This includes water, food, sanitation, and supply services. The health agency says the unfortunate situation makes the population of Haiti highly vulnerable to the ongoing cholera outbreak. WHO says a multi-sectoral approach is essential to control cholera outbreaks to reduce deaths. This means a combination of surveillance, water, sanitation and hygiene, social mobilization, treatment, and oral cholera vaccines. Janesh Agagas, Eagle News, New York, New York. We live in extraordinary times.
Now back here in the U.S., the country's disease control agency says the vaccine against Mpox currently used in the country is safe and effective. Francis Francisco has the details.
New data released recently in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Morbidity and Mortality weekly report provided additional evidence to support that vaccinations with the Jynneos Mpox vaccine is safe. The data also suggests that it reduces the risk for getting the disease. CDC recommends vaccinations for people at risk for getting Mpox. The first report looks at vaccine safety data among children and adults. CDC says the report finds no major vaccine safety concerns after nearly 1 million Jynneos doses were administered. Common adverse health events reported were consistent with studies before the vaccine was licensed. This includes injection site redness, swelling, or pain, and dizziness. The second report finds rates of Mpox illness in unvaccinated people were 10 times higher compared to those who had received both doses of the Jynneos vaccine. The health agency says these findings provide additional evidence supporting the protective effect of the vaccination. CDC says although Mpox cases are decreasing, so is public concern. Mpox response incident manager Jonathan Merman says with a safe, effective vaccine available, this is the chance to turn the page and finish strong. CDC encourages everyone who is eligible for Mpox vaccination to receive the complete 2-doses series for best protection. Francis Francisco, Seattle, Washington, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Several stories from Thomas Eye Likeness today, from the worsening inflation hurting families and workers around the globe, to the world's only Nonuplets, to a blind Paralympic athlete riding waves. Here's Correspondent at Large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. We're all in this together. I'm talking about the economic crisis. It's worldwide, and what happens on one side of the globe has consequences on the other. Take, for instance, shoes. These workers, they're employed by Taiyang Company. These workers at this factory in Ho Chi Minh City make shoes. They're out of a job now because consumers in Europe and the United States are spending less. Those two regions are the major markets for goods produced by about 1,200 Vietnamese companies. Now, they make things like shoes, clothing, and furniture. Orders are down 30 to 40% from the United States and 60% from Europe. Tens of thousands of people and scores of factories have been laid off, and those who still have jobs have had their hours cut. Women are the hardest hit. They make up about 80% of the workforce in the garment industry. It's going to be hard for these folks to feed their families. And it's going to be even harder for people in the African nation of Ghana to put food on the table. Inflation there running at more than 40%. Single mom Patience Tasanka says with runaway inflation, things are tough.
Raising a baby alone isn't that easy, and then in this economy, very hard.
Tasanka says money just isn't worth what it was 3 years ago before the pandemic.
I remember way back, let's say 3 years ago, when she was being given birth. This wasn't like this. I'm able to buy diapers how I wanted it, buy baby foods how I wanted it. But now I can't even buy baby food for her.
And so it goes all over the world. That's just a snapshot of how life is in two countries. Where I am in Canada, we're thankful things have not become that difficult. While feeding the kids is going to be a bit of a challenge for this family in Mali. Meet Halima Sisas and her husband Abdelkader Arbi, along with their Nonuplets. Nonuplets, that's 9 babies born to the same mom at one time. The youngsters, 5 girls and 4 boys, were born in Morocco last year. They remained there with their parents for the last 18 months until the children were healthy enough to travel home. Last Tuesday, they returned to Mali. The country's health minister says the government will continue to provide them with support. What's Beijing looking like now that the zero COVID policy in China has been scrapped? These images of the city's subways and shopping malls were taken just a few days ago. You can see there's just not a lot of people out there. Not a lot of people shopping, not a lot of people traveling. COVID cases in the country are surging again. More than 22,000 people visited hospitals just days after the restrictions were loosened. That's 16 times the number of a week earlier. There's pressure on the healthcare system, and many people with symptoms are choosing to self-medicate at home. Cold and fever medications have sold out in most pharmacies. The big fear now is that a surge of cases will affect millions of unvaccinated seniors. This Australian man is not letting a disability like blindness stop him from pursuing his favorite sport. That's Matt Formston you see riding the waves. By the age of 5, he had lost 95% of his vision. Growing up in a surfing community in Australia, he dreamed of becoming a professional surfer. So he and his dad came up with a plan to teach him how to navigate the waves. He now participates in the World Paralympics.
As a person with a disability, you have a choice. You can sit in a room and feel sorry for yourself, or you can get out and try and live your best life.
So Matt, how dangerous is this passion of yours?
And it's actually the safest place, I think, for a blind person to do, because we will walk across the beach and I could roll my ankle or fall in a hole or walk into a stick. I walk through a car park and there's gutters and holes and cars and tow balls, and just everything's dangerous when you're blind. In the ocean, if you fall off your surfboard, you're in water, and as long as you can swim, you're safe.
Matt Formston, Paralympic surfer, not one to sit around feeling sorry for himself. back in 7 days, and in the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Thomas I. Likeness, Correspondent at Large, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Papua New Guinea observes Human Rights Day with a 3-week campaign promoting safer homes for a safer country. Here's Echo Hortaleza Quinola on Oceania at a Glance.
A 20-day human rights activism campaign at the Surgeon Guy Stadium is happening in Port Moresby in observance of Human Rights Day. The event is dubbed From Safe Home to a Safer Papua New Guinea, Unite with Peace and Human Rights. National Capital District City Manager Rabu Frank says that the National Capital District Governor, Honorable Poe Sparkop, will use his power to vigilantly mitigate gender-based violence. 8 civil society organizations are awarded grants by the Secretary for the Department of Community Development and Religion, Jerry Obase. The award aims to support the advocacy of the gender-based violence and sorcery accusation-related violence in this country.
I do not want all forms of violence in the city. Enough is enough. We call for peace and respect for one another. We call for peace and respect for women and girls. We call for government to all lawbreakers and perpetrators of violence against women and children. Take back our city from all forms of violence. Violence destroys families, homes, workplaces, communities, streets, suburbs, entire city, and paint a bad image on the city and the country as a whole.
In related news, the Active City Development Program ends this year with an event highlighting dignity, freedom, and justice for all White Sember Walk. Citizens join the activity to show alliance in promoting the human rights and entitlement.
Everyone needs a voice. They need someone to stand up for them. The Active City program is giving that platform, so the voices that have not been heard can be heard, so that marginalized people, so that those survivors of gender-based violence can have a space. And not only that, so that we create that active awareness that other people need to stand up for people that cannot be able to do that for themselves. And that's what I do. I'm a human rights defender. I'm a human rights activist. I stand up for the rights of others. And to be a part of this program is, for me, it's an honor, because I know that we have a platform that can be able to speak up for those who cannot be able to do so themselves.
Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In a move to boost the province's skilled trades industry, Ontario updates its high school curriculum. The Canadian province is advancing its secondary schools' STEM-related courses. In Toronto, Joshua Santillana reports on Learning Curve.
This week in Ontario, an update to the high school curriculum is introduced and will be in effect next school year. This update involves science, technology, engineering, and mathematics courses, or what is usually referred to as STEM. This change emphasizes critical life and job skills related to trades and industrial jobs like mechanics, electricians, plumbers, welders, carpenters, technicians, and the like. With this curriculum update, Ontario aims to be the leading province when it comes to STEM education. Coding concepts, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and more technology-based hands-on projects are just some of the updates to the current computer science courses in high school. Based on a government report, there were almost 18,000 job vacancies for computer and information professionals in Ontario this year. It is estimated that by 2026, 1 in 5 job openings in Ontario will be in the skilled trades. The province hopes that the curriculum changes will motivate students to consider and have a rewarding career in the skilled trades industry. Joshua Santillana, Toronto, Ontario. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
There are 450,000 contaminated or suspected to be contaminated properties in the U.S. Because of this, the government is giving over $14 million in grants. The grants aim to boost the environmental workforce in underserved and overburdened communities. Melissa Potez on Down to Earth.
29 organizations across the United States will receive a total of more than $14 million in grants for environmental job training programs. The Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, says these are first Brownfields job training grants funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. These grants are for boosting workforce training in underserved and overburdened communities. The EPA says this funding will help recruit, train, and place workers for community revitalization and cleanup projects at Brownfield sites. The Brownfields job training programs includes the opportunity to gain certifications in lead and asbestos abatement, hazardous waste operations and emergency response, mold remediation, environmental sampling and analysis, and other environmental health and safety training. A brownfield is a property which may be complicated by the presence or potential presence of a hazardous substance, pollutant, or contaminant. In the U.S., there are an estimated 450,000 brownfields. For a list of grant recipients, visit EPA.gov. Melissa Potez, Orlando, Florida, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Philippine embassies and foreign service posts are calling on Filipino absentee voters abroad to register for the 2025 national elections. Here's more from Rosel Feria on Embassy Files.
Acceptance of applications to the overseas voters registration begins at the Philippine Embassy. This is in preparation for the 2025 Philippine national elections. Registration continues at the Philippine Embassy and in other Philippine Foreign Service posts until September 30, 2024. Registration is open from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. except the holidays. An appointment is not required. To be qualified, you have to be a Philippine citizen abroad and not otherwise disqualified by law. You need to be at least 18 years of age on May 12, 2025. To register, an applicant must personally submit requirements to the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. or in other Philippine Foreign Service posts. Requirements include a printed copy of the accomplished overseas voter registration form, the original and photocopy of a valid Philippine passport, and the original and the photocopy of proof of current Filipino citizenship such as green card, visa, notice of action, work permit, or dual citizenship. For more information on the overseas voters registration, visit philippineenembassy-dc.org/overseas-absentee-voting. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Before we let you go, here's our photo of the week. Look at that captivating view of Waikiki Beach in Oahu, Hawaii. And I hear that sailboat calling me. Thank you, Erickson Jarvina, for sending that awesome shot. And thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. View, like, share our other shows. City Limits with Alan Basalyahe. Connected with Dr. David. Take a seat and join us with Anna Kui. Plate Date with Mike Hudson and Friends. Plus, Journey, Stories of Filipinos in Canada with Kathleen Cruz. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I am EJ Gonzales. We live in extraordinary times. Happy weekend, everyone.